For Monday, May 10th, 2021. Time is 6:30 p.m. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could please stand, remain standing for a moment of silence. Robert Hammond. Bob Hammond recently passed away. He worked for the Whitman Public Schools, was a Whitman Auxiliary Police Officer, as well as an auto mechanic, and was the Whitman and Abington Animal Control Officer. During the years he worked in Abington, he made a great many friends of his co-workers and was very well thought of. He was a very active member of the Phoenix Masonic Lodge for over 40 years and devoted a great amount of time to community service. He'll be very much missed by his family and friends. Thank you. You want to do Friday now, Scott? You want to do Friday now? Or you want to do
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, so wasn't on the agenda, but we're gonna have the fire department chief Nuttall, if you want to take the podium.
Thank you. We'll make this brief. I know this is not on the agenda. It's been a busy week for everybody. So we'll do this in open comment, however you want to call it. So Abington Fire is pleased to present their firefighter badges to our two newest employees that will be getting shipped next week. We hired them about 3 weeks ago. They're doing some initial orientation training until they eventually both attend the Mass Fire Academy at the end of August, and then they will graduate anticipated early November, in which case they're totally on their own. Right now they're newbies and we're still training them. There's some limitations to what they can do, but we've got enough experience and training that we're going to put them on shift beginning next week. So without further ado, and so you gentlemen can both relax, regardless of what everybody behind you is saying, you do not have to give a speech or sing. I've heard all of the comments going on back there. They didn't know I was sitting there. So you both want to stand up here? I'd like to introduce to the town of Abington two of our newest hires. They're both number 1 and number 2 on the state firefighter, paramedic, civil service list. I have a lot of my colleagues in the area wondering how I was able to get both of the top 2 candidates on the list that just came out. We scored very well. We scored by their score. We're working out very well with civil service on that. We're very fortunate. They've been with the department for about 3 weeks now, and we're very impressed with their skills, their enthusiasm, and they're fitting right in. So the first candidate, or the first firefighter, is firefighter Matt Barry. Matt is an Abington resident. He was number 1 on the state firefighter, paramedic, civil service list. He graduated from the Norfolk Agricultural High School. If I'm wrong on any of these, either correct me or ignore it. Matt is a very experienced truck driver. He's one of the few that already is coming on this job with the CDL. In fact, he's begun to train some of our veteran firefighters in some driving tips from what I'm hearing. And that's going very well. We have very large apparatus, as you know, and from what I'm hearing from all of my officers already is he's flawless with that. So very proud of that skill already. And again, both of these candidates are going to attend the Mass Fire Academy at the end of August until November. And Matt is going to begin his assignment next week on Group 3. And presenting his badge tonight is going to be his, I think, friend of the family, Stoughton Fire Lieutenant, Mr. Jim Turton. Lieutenant? If you don't mind the honors, thank you very much. And our second newest hire is firefighter paramedic Mike Concannon. Mike was number 2 on the overall state firefighter paramedic civil service list. Mike is a Rockland resident, and his grandfather was past Rockland Deputy Fire Chief Fotopoulos. Now, we keep reminding him and his family that Rockland at one point was part of Abington, so he still is part of the right team. Even though, there's a subdivision of Rockland over what we call Rockland, he's in the right department. Mike graduated from the South Shore Votech High School. Mike is also an experienced combat medic in the Army National Guard, and he's going to have a lot of his experience with that he's bringing back to our members to share those skills that he has had as well. Mike is going to begin his assignment next week on Group 4, and presenting his badge tonight is his mom, Elaine. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Normally, in a normal world, we have you shake the hands of all the selectmen. I'm not quite sure if that's, you can wave, I guess, at this point, because they're behind many layers of plastic. But welcome aboard. We anticipate long careers with you, and we're very impressed so far. So thank you very much, and we'll get out of your way. Thank you.
Congratulations.
How many numbers do we have right now? How many do you have on the shift? Six. So it's 224.
Thank you.
All right, next up is public announcements. Alex Hager, do you have any?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of public announcements. I want to congratulate the Abington High School Drama Club on their most recent and phenomenal production of Working, a musical, on April 29th and April 30th. The cast, tech crew, and stage crew of Abington students, Abington CAM, and all the volunteers put on a fantastic show, and the students' hard work shined through. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, the production was filmed live on stage and streamed directly to people's homes and devices. Even with COVID restrictions, the students of Abington High School were able to bring the magic of Broadway to our little town. Congratulations. On May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, Griffin's Dairy held its very first food truck night. Thank you to all the amazing Griffin's Dairy volunteers, the Food Truck Association, and our awesome residents for making the first night a success. Even in the rain, Abington residents came by the dozens to taste the great food. This is a great community gathering that I cannot wait to see more of. Next night is this Wednesday, May 12th. Another news, Abington Celebrates announced over the weekend that Abington will have events for Flag Day and Founders Day, weekend June 11th through 13th. Information soon to be announced. Lastly, in health-related news, yard waste pickup is this week and scheduled for your normal trash day. Our compost site is also going to be open on Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Groveland Street. Wednesday will be school clinics for students age 16 and up to get their COVID-19 vaccination. Our health department is expected to be able to have clinics again at the Council on Aging Center, the Senior Center, very shortly. And going and have been to the COVID clinics that we had in the past,
Abington is definitely really best equipped to vaccinate our public. So that's great to hear. And again, wear your masks as advised, wash your hands, and be on the outlook for new guidelines as we here in Massachusetts start to really reopen. Guidelines also came out today from the governor's office. And so that's all I have for public announcements. One point of privilege here. I do want to say, I know she's watching at home, happy birthday, Mom. I love you.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mike, any public comments?
Nothing tonight.
Alex?
Yeah, this is a little early, but I want to get the word out. The Hug Foundation will be holding our annual celebrity softball tournament again this year on June 26th behind the Beaverbrook School. We have 12 teams that play. We weren't able to do it last year because of COVID. We typically do it in June, so then we tried to do it in September, and that didn't work, but we are having it this year. It's free to anyone that wants to come down and watch the games during the day, and then we're going to the Knights of Columbus afterwards for a cookout, and there'll be plenty of celebrities there that the kids can get pictures and autographs with. And there are some openings on some of the teams. If someone would like to play, please reach out to myself, or I know Tim has a team going in, probably made up of the Board of Selectmen, I'm assuming, and others. But there are openings. If someone would like to play, reach out to us, and we'll announce it again as it gets closer.
Tim, any comments?
No, someone forgot to mention Alex. I was supposed to share announcements. Not take them all.
I told him.
He was told.
Sorry,
He was
new beginner.
We have one last announcement. The library is increasing its hours in service. They have added socially distanced seating, as well as some easy-to-clean activities in the children's room. Public computers in the reference area are again available. On Monday, May 17th, they will expand the schedule of open hours to include Monday from 1 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Additional increases in hours are planned for June. This means that the building will be open for borrowers Monday through Thursday, with curbside pickup continuing Monday through Friday for those patrons who do not wish to enter the building. They will begin offering in-person programs for children in late June and have a full schedule planned for the summer months. They will also have outdoor tables and seating under the portico, and will continue to lend laptops for use in the parking lot or at the tables under the portico. The trustees and the library staff are very happy to be expanding services for our community. Okay, next up is public comments. Does anyone have any comments for anything that's on the agenda tonight? If you could step right up to the podium, say your name and address, please.
My name is Jean Kelly, 50 Thaxter Avenue in Abington. I'm not sure if this is where I'm supposed to say anything, but there is an issue on the agenda tonight about heavy commercial vehicles exclusion. And 11 months ago, I wrote to the town manager and asked if Thaxter Avenue could have some help with the heavy commercial trucks and vehicles using that short little residential street. And I noticed 2 streets that are up to have an exclusion, and I think it's great that I'm hoping they're going to get that. But I really think the center of town, so many trucks are trying to avoid Route 123, and they're trying to get to Summer Street, and they're either clogging up the intersection of 18 and Summer, or they're coming through Thaxter Avenue, which is just a 2-block street of homes and kids, and cutting over Walnut to get onto Summer. And I would request that you, as a board for the town, consider limiting the commercial traffic of Summer Street. Those people can't even get out of their driveways during the day. Washington Street in Whitman is limited to traffic for commercial vehicles. And I would like to see Summer Street and Walnut Street also limited. Because if they were limited, Orange Street is what caused Thaxter to become so heavy, because it became limited to trucks.
Yeah.
So now they're cutting through Thaxter, and if you put a sign up for Thaxter, they'd go through Bank. But I think if you address the issue of Summer Street and Walnut Street to commercial traffic and kept those trucks on the state highways, then those residential side streets would be a lot safer than they are today.
Okay.
So I would request that you consider that.
So what will be the next step on this?
Yeah, so what we did on Summit Road and Wyman Road, and what if we were to follow through with this, is in that particular case, we had Old Colony Planning Council did traffic counts for us, and they did observations to see, exactly how many trucks, when they were using that road, and they put an analysis together that we had to forward to District 5 of Mass DOT, which reviewed it, made recommendations, and then they sent it off to Boston. That's where we're at now, is with these two roads is, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, it was probably about 6 months in the making, maybe more.
Over a year was last winter.
So it takes quite a bit of time, but they did make the determination that on these particular roads, that a heavy commercial vehicle exclusion zone was warranted. When we looked at Thaxter, we specifically just looked at Thaxter when it was brought to my attention, and it was thought, two things we thought is one, we didn't think it would get approved, and the second part was we wanted to look at sort of the whole picture. There was the project that was being proposed at the time. We thought that maybe that would bring to light some of the issues, because there are bigger issues than just the trucks going down Thaxter. But that project was withdrawn. Now a much larger project is being proposed, and I think a bigger analysis is going to have to be done for that. Does it fix the immediate need over there? Definitely not. I mean, I can ask, and Johnstone will be very happy to ask Old Colony to take a look at this one also. Again, it's a process. I don't know where it'll go. The problem with this is, and as is with other streets, if you keep telling the trucks they can't go down a particular road, it's going to lead to them going down another road, and that other road is going to apply and ask for this also. So it's not as simple as you guys just approving it. I mean, they have to do sort of a longer, bigger analysis. So I will ask John to reach out to the fellows who did the work for us on Summit and Lyman, if this board so desires, and we'll see what the results are that come back.
Yeah, I think so, but I think, like I said, there's going to be some traffic studies coming up anyway on Summer Street. They're going to have to, for the proposed project there, and I think it's all going to have to tie in to that area and the surrounding streets. So I think it's much bigger than what we did on Wyman. I think it's going to be a much bigger and a more timely, longer time to get something done. But I definitely understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I don't think it's something that we can get done within 6 months or so. I think it's going to be a long process. Probably, realistically, if this one took over a year, I would think it would be a couple of years before we could do it. But we will start the process.
Thank you. That's what I would like you to do.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? State your name and address.
Michelle Kearney, 652 Adams Street. I'm here about 662 Adams Street, but can I wait till after your update?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Public comments? No public comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Hi, Beth Owings, 28 Pond Street. I just wanted to comment about the police chief search committee, but I didn't know if it would be more appropriate to wait until you got down to that.
You can talk now if you want, that's fine.
You're gonna look at me again, though, if I come back up here. You wanna see me twice, I don't know. So I just wanted to formally introduce myself as somebody who is interested in being on that search committee. So for whatever reason, I wasn't able to fill out the form and then send it as the PDF. So I actually made an email and sent it to you, sir. So hopefully you got that.
I do have it.
We did.
Yes.
Wonderful, okay. I didn't know if it was appropriate to read that, or, because I have a copy myself, if I was to read it, or?
Why don't we,
Why don't
let's
we-
let's
Sit down,
wait.
come back when we get to them.
Yeah, let's wait for now, because we're still,
Yeah.
gonna probably have some discussion on it, so.
Okay.
All right,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Beth. All right, so next will be old business and update on 662 Adams Street.
Okay, so we went into the planning board meeting last week. I think a couple of us were there. And planning board did give a permit to Mr. Sullivan, a site plan approval. They made some conditions on it that require more screening, a area within 20 feet of the property line that he can't store his vehicles. And what'll happen is, within, I think they have 20 days from the night of that meeting to have that appealed or have a comment period on it, at which time, after that, it goes into effect, and we will send a notice for them to vacate the residence, because they won't be able to have people in the house anymore. They can use it as an office or whatever, but that, and there was comments made at the meeting and some concerns about the fence issue, and I know that the building inspector said he was going to discuss it with the planning board and look into the fence issue.
Okay. Anything from the board on this?
No, I'd have one comment. So myself and a few other, Alex and Kevin, we went to the planning board meeting. It was very good to partake in that and hear both sides on the issue of, what is it, 662 Adams Street. I just want to give credit where credit is due. I want to say thank you to planning board member Rick Collins for, really pushing the hard questions and really trying to get to the bottom of the situation and really get some clarity on the issue. This is, we're Board of Selectmen, they're planning board, but I'm a little disappointed that the site plan was approved without it being completed, as it was stated at the meeting. But I just want to say thank you to Rick Collins, and looking forward to more discussions on this.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? I know, Scan, you want to speak?
So if you recall, when we were here, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago? The 17580 complaint, you guys told me that that was given to Marshall, right? Correct? He was charged with that investigation?
Yeah.
I was just hoping I could get a copy of the written findings, because I never received one. And then, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with section 98 of the bylaws. Maybe, I have extra copies.
We'll take a
Okay.
copy.
Yeah. Pass them over, yeah.
Yeah. There's 7 of them. And then, under that section, I want to submit this complaint. And I would respectfully urge you guys to either put a stop to what's going on over there, or at the very least to impose stricter conditions, because it's just, he hasn't complied with anything that's been imposed, none of the cease and desist, and he's given no reason for anyone to believe it's gonna stop anytime soon. So this is your authority, so, if you guys, anyone else wants to come out and take a look, feel free, but that's pretty much it. I mean, it's still going on. He's still over there almost every day, trucks in and out, and now that the plan's approved, I mean, it's only gonna get better from here, so, if you have any questions though, you guys have my email, I sent you all those links and everything, so, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, and maybe to the town, Scott, our town manager as well. Did Marshall know that he was, we asked for him to be at this meeting?
Actually, no. I told them that we didn't need him at this meeting because we had him at the planning meeting and the permit has been approved.
Okay, no, because I'm just asking about, there were cease and desist on that property, and for some reason, we could have been issuing fines to perhaps resolve this sooner.
There actually were fines that were issued on it early on, so I do have copies of those fines, but the matter had been brought up with planning, and once they had approved it, my thought was that as far as having him here, you know, the matter has been resolved. Now, if we want to bring it up as a new matter, that's fine. There were several citations that were issued early on, though.
May I ask a question? Has he paid those fines?
No,
And when were they issued?
I don't have them with me.
They were issued back in June, almost a year ago, Scott.
Just your name and address for the record.
Pat Kearney, 652 Adams Street.
Thank you.
This whole situation at 662 Adams has been nothing but a series of failures. A failure by the zoning enforcement officer to actually enforce his zoning bylaws. A failure for the planning board to kick it back to zoning because it was a zoning issue, and their own peer engineer said that in the very first report that he needs zoning relief. Should have went right back to zoning. And then it was the failure of the failure to enforce any of the cease and desist orders. You know, you issued fines before you issued the cease and desist order, and then once you issued the cease and desist, as you guys have seen in the emails that I sent you, I was assured as of December 21st you were going to seek relief in the courts. Now, you said that the town's attorney advised you against it, that she didn't think that you would be successful. I would like to see proof of that conversation, because frankly, I don't believe you. I don't think anything's been done. Nothing was done the whole time.
Town council told me the same thing, so she said it would not hold up in court.
Okay.
Is that the comment?
That was the
I was
conversation.
standing there after our last meeting.
Did she give any reason for it? Because, I mean, this is a slam dunk. It really is. The
I mean, you
violations
might
and-
think it's a slam dunk, you know, and I feel your pain, and I really do. But legally, it went to planning board, and planning board approved it. And they gave conditions. He has to abide by those conditions now. And if he doesn't, then you can do something. But he got a site plan approval. There's nothing really we can do about
You
that.
got a site plan approval in violation of the town's zoning bylaws.
Again, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I'm
It's-
not an
it's-
attorney. Well,
Okay.
you can appeal the decision or something.
Yeah, I plan to. I
Okay,
plan
well,
to.
that would be your recourse.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
I
let
was
the
I was
courts
just hoping
decide.
that under the 98-1 land complaint, that you guys have the power and the authority to make this right. This has been a disaster. This has North Quincy Street written all
I
over it.
agree it's a disaster. I agree with you. But if planning board approved it, the next course would be for you to appeal it.
Well, okay. So who do I go to, the zoning board of appeals on that?
No.
I've
What,
already
do you
emailed the
know
planning
the-
board, and I was told there is no appeals process.
There must be.
You could file in court, you'd have to go to
You would
probably
have to
land court.
file in land court, I'm assuming?
Or land court, or
Or
might be
Superior.
Superior, because it's not,
This has been an egregious transaction of transgression of duties here. I mean, this is obvious. This conversations I had with you back in December, where you assured me that he was gonna need variances, and the town usually grants variances on 3% of occasions.
I never assured you That I can guarantee.
Okay. Well, I have this letter to you, gentlemen, that, I'll let you pass it on.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that being said, I'd just like to read part of the letter then.
Okay.
As you are well aware, my family and I have been attempting to advocate for ourselves and our neighbors as well in the matter of the multitude of violations that have taken place at 662 Adams Street. We have been to countless planning board meetings with mountains of evidence and countless bylaws and state law cited, only to have our concerns answered with, "We'll have to look into that." And then the next meeting, they still have no answers, but they want to move the process along, so our questions have been ignored. The planning board has now forced the approval of conditional site plan for the property in lieu of having in hand the special permits for the land use, 17521, it's an H5 land use, or the proper zoning variance for the lack of frontage, lot width, and reduced buffer strips along the driveway. The operation at 662 Adams has been a nuisance to the surrounding homes since it began in late fall of 2019, and hasn't stopped since, regardless of the fact that there have been 4 separate cease and desist orders issued. I would like to request that the board use its authority under Town Bylaws, Chapter 98, Sections 1, 2, 3, and Chapter 175, Section 80, and make this right. The property does not meet dimensional regulations for industrial use, and the property can only remain as a grandfathered, non-conforming residence. I would ask that you require the owner to restore the property and remove the industrial operation. In addition to the Chapter 98 land use complaint filed tonight, I would appreciate written answers to the following questions. Prior to the site plan review, Mr. Sullivan was brought in front of the planning board to apply for a special permit for removing soil and bringing in fill. One of the questions asked by the board was, where did it go? Mr. Sullivan's attorney said that he would provide bills of lading at the next meeting, since it is required in the application. My question is, has he obtained said permit? And I would like to see the bills of lading, since Mr. Sullivan has filed a complaint against me for the soil he removed from my yard, and I need to present that information to the board in my own hearing. Mr. Sullivan also requires a special permit for the H5 usage, open lot storage of goods and materials used in connection with a commercial or industrial use. Has he obtained this special permit? All along the planning board process, the purpose of the peer review was to get the applicant to meet current zoning requirements. Town council agreed with the requirements of 175-66 buffer strips, that the applicant had to reserve a 20-foot buffer strip along my property line and could not use that space for storage or materials or to house any structure. The site plan shows his snow collection, separation, drainage system, whatever that thing is called, 11 feet from the property line. This is a structure. Will it be relocated to accommodate the 20-foot buffer? As I stated, town council has agreed with 175-66, but the discrepancy in her finding is that 175-66 requires a 20-foot buffer on all adjoining lot lines. Having the buffer strip reduced beside the driveway to 10 feet requires a variance from the zoning board of appeals. Will the applicant be required to apply for this variance? According to Town Bylaws, Chapter 175, Section 16, and Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 6, anytime there is a change of use in a property, that property has to now conform to current zoning regulations. Town council said that she disagrees with this, but apparently only in the area of frontage and lot width, because there is no building or expansion taking place. However, there has been substantial expansion in the usage of the lot. I don't understand why the planning board would have spent so much time on trying to get the applicant to bring in a site plan excuse me, that conform to code, only to completely gloss over this one issue, except for the fact that this is the one deal breaker. This is the one thing he can't change. He can't expand the lot. He can't make it bigger, okay? The lot does not allow for the proper sized driveway, buffer strips, emergency vehicle access, or any of this. This is why this law is written. This is a factor that had Mr. Sullivan done any kind of due diligence when he bought the house, he would have been told the same thing Butch Wilson told me when I bought my house. The two lots, 652 and 662, were once one lot, subdivided in the 1950s when my house was built. As a result of this, neither lot met zoning requirements to be changed to an industrial use. So at the very least, will the applicant be required to apply for this variance? It's pretty simple that this has been a failure from the get-go, and it never should have got through zoning, but it did. And I'm just imploring the board to please do the right thing before this becomes another North Quincy Street, and deny this land use on this lot. And he's not missing the frontage by 2 or 3 feet, he misses it by 17 feet. You know, so he can't put the buffer strip, he can't put the proper driveway, he can't put the proper setbacks. And in lieu of who we're in presence of tonight, he can't get an emergency vehicle through there.
This is ridiculous that this is being pushed through. This is a bad apple that's been shoved down my throat by the planning board in the town. And the only relief I've gotten was from the Board of Selectmen back in October. You guys had a cease and desist issue ordered by the town's attorney to stop all operations. I thought that was gonna be the end of it, but then it just completely faltered, completely failed. Nobody did anything about it in the 9 months since. And I've had to live with this on a daily basis with no peaceful, quiet enjoyment of my property because of the inaction in the town on behalf of their own cease and desist order. Now, this is a terrible precedent for the town to set. You're opening the floodgates for any unscrupulous contractor that wants to come in here and say, hey, I'm grandfathered, I can do whatever I want.
Understandable. Can we, let's just stick to this. Let's not,
Okay.
let's just stick to this.
Well, what I'm saying is you are setting a
I
precedent if
understand,
you
but
let this happen.
Let's stick to this. We have what you filed today. The town council has already had a lot of input from planning to the planning board. So in this situation, Scott, if we were to open this investigation, it goes back to town council again?
Yeah.
Would that be
we-
correct?
Absolutely on this, we'd have to ask her
So in that
to weigh in on
situation,
it.
if the board, does the board want to weigh in on this? Do we want to send this, open investigation, send it back to town council to have them look at these concerns in this complaint?
I think they should.
That way we'll get a,
I actually had some questions, and
and there's plenty of questions in here that they can use.
I was actually at that meeting with my wife, who was on the zoning board for 11 years, and she was surprised that it hadn't gone to zoning. Bylaws have changed, he hasn't been on there in quite a few years, but I would like to check into the zoning issues on this.
Yep, I can ask,
do that,
and
so-
and then we can ask for a written response.
So I see
Because if
that.
what he is saying is correct, although Ron Whitney denied that at the meeting.
My lawyer disagrees with his, so.
I understand that. I'm just saying, if you're correct, then they are in violation,
Yeah.
even if they have a site plan approval.
I would like,
So I would like to look into the zoning on this.
we submit these letters to town council with the article and have them look at this and give us a response.
Will do.
Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Okay, anyone else? For 662, all right. So next up is a vote to approve the minutes of April 26, 2021.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Give a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. The next one up is to vote on a 24-hour, 2.5-ton heavy commercial vehicle exclusion on Summit Road and Wyman Road.
Yeah, as we discussed earlier, we got some complaints a while back on excessive use of that road by heavy commercial vehicles. We asked a traffic count to be done and traffic observations to be done by Old Colony Planning Council, which they did for us. They felt as though it did warrant having a heavy construction vehicle exclusion zone on it, heavy commercial vehicle exclusion zone. They sent the information over to Mass DOT Area 5, who agreed with the findings. They sent it to Boston, and Boston agreed with them. So this vote will allow us to place the signage.
Okay.
This isn't a public hearing, but anyone,
Does anyone wants to speak on this? A resident? No?
No, the resident that reached out to me regarding it was when Amazon went into the trucking terminal across the street there, and their GPSs were taking them the shortest route to 139, which was through the neighborhood. The truck drivers don't realize what they're going into until they make the turn. So hopefully the signs will keep them off, and we've asked Amazon last year at some point to put signs up in their terminal.
actually,
Just
I was told today Amazon is out of there.
They're out of there, but
So,
in that terminal there, they had put signs up,
Yeah.
letting the drivers know that 18 does lead to 139, and they can catch it that way.
but with the expansion of 18, I think this is a good idea anyway, whether or not Amazon is still there. That they were only part of the problem. So,
Yeah, any drivers GPS will tells them to take that.
Yeah.
Once we put that on the exclusion list, that will get downloaded onto their GPSs, that it's not allowed.
Okay.
So I'll make the motion to approve the 24-hour, 2.5-ton HVCE on Summit Road and Wyman Road.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? All right, the next up is review comments regarding 0 Summer Street, the 40B application to Mass Housing.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself again from this discussion.
Okay. So, Scott, you did reach out to the department heads.
Yep, we reached out to department heads, to planning board, to all the land use boards. I think most of them have met. If they haven't, they will be meeting, and they'll get their comments to us. I think I included most of the comments in the packet.
We did have a few, and I'll just briefly go through a quick, should be required to perform road safety audit of Summer Street and a traffic impact study before this project is considered. It's prone to accidents, may be a need for a traffic light, other safety improvements. This project of this magnitude will consume at least 7% of the town's available sewer capacity. This will affect calls for service and traffic issues, manpower issues. They would have to come through to the water board for water availability, and the board has put on hold water hookups until we complete a supply and demand study. So as of now, there's no domestic water available for the project. Fire prevention staffing, increased call volume, again, water supply, emergency vehicle access and operability, traffic and sidewalks, the budgetary impact for the town. Creates more work for the building department. I'd like to see a little more input from Marshall on this one.
Isn't that his job?
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Just saying.
it's going to create more work. I just don't know what he didn't elaborate. Scott, could you have him elaborate maybe on that?
Sure.
Give us a little more detail than just that. The applicant, right, the board believes the applicant will be responsible for implementing mitigations this previous applicant agreed to. The buildings are too high. It's too dense of an area. It's too dense for the site. Concerned about water shortage, concerned about the vegetative buffer, concerned about circulation issues on the site. And we've also got a couple from the residents, which I won't read this fully as well, but we have quite a bit of concerns here. Does the board have anything on this?
No, just make sure that they get sent along to the proper people making the decisions.
Okay.
Scott, is it possible, I know a couple people have reached out to me, to maybe post this on the town website, that public comments are open?
Yeah,
Some
I
way
did.
for them to get,
Yeah, I did post the application. I will put that on there also, the public comments are welcome. We're on the process right now, and hopefully we'll have an answer within a week or so, but we have brought on a consultant through Mass Housing Partnership that is going to do, it's going to go over with the zoning board and with any other boards that are interested. I'm thinking we're going to do it in a webinar format, just so we can get the most information out there, but basically explaining this process and what our roles, what the different board roles are, and what we can do to make sure that, you know, our concerns are addressed as we go through the process. But I will update the website to, you know, maybe have some sort of a link that they can follow to submit comments to me directly. And if the board would, if the board pleases, I will compile all of these comments, as well as, I think we had till the 24th to submit them. So anything that comes in between now and then, I know the Housing Trust is going to meet later this week. I'm not sure if Conservation's made any comments or if they're going to, but obviously there are wetland issues out there. So I will put everything together in a nice tidy package and get it off to Mass Housing on behalf of the board, if that's your pleasure.
And Scott, just so the viewers, all of them, understand that we're not paying for this consultant either.
Right, so
Yeah.
we won't pay for any consultants. So the initial consultant that's working with the town is paid for by the Mass Housing Partnership. And she'll give us technical assistance on process and on how this process pans out. She'll work with the zoning board as they go through the meetings. There'll also be consultants that will be onboarded to do peer review of the engineering, civil engineering, traffic studies, any other reports, wetland reports, anything like that that has to be filed. Those consultants will be paid for by the applicant also. Really, the only thing that the town ends up on the hook for would be if we, the advice of town council, which, obviously they'll play a big part in this, but with the consultant that we have for Mass Housing Partnership, that becomes a lot less than what we would do without her.
Okay.
We just don't want people thinking that we're putting a lot of money into this now, and
No, we're putting a lot of time into it,
Yeah.
and obviously we want to address all of the concerns that are
Correct.
coming with it.
I know I've already asked, but does anyone from the public have any comments, want to get up and speak?
Beth Owens, 28 Pond Street. I had a concern, obviously, like a lot of people do, and not to get into the Abington-Rockland water issue, but the water shortage and the strain that would put on our water supply. If we have you guys have put a stop on any new requests for water, does that itself stop the state, basically, from moving forward if you guys have put that in place?
well, right now, if they had the permits in hand today, they could not build because there is no water. This could be a 2-year process.
Yeah.
Or more.
But if
The state will not stop the project, so right now they're in application to the state. We will make it known to the state that we have some big concerns with our water, but that doesn't mean the state will necessarily say no.
So they can't respect the no more requests for water, that you're shaking your head like, absolutely not.
No, we don't have water to give them right now, but we may 2 years from now when this is approved.
But what if we don't?
Our water stop is just for 3 months. This isn't happening with.
If we don't have it, we can't give them something we don't have.
If in 2 years we don't have water, then fine.
Then they
Do
might,
they still go ahead, though, if we don't have water to give them?
they would have to do something else for water if we don't have water by then. If we don't have water, we can't give it to them.
I guess that's what I'm asking, like, very simply put, like, if the town of Abington says, sorry, we still have a no request for water going, does that, like, can we tell Big Brother no, and Big Brother has to listen to that? Or can they just,
They could do wells, they could do, who knows what they could do. They could bring a line in from.
and get around that
Whitman,
whole no water requesting?
Whatever, yeah.
Okay, that was my first question about it. And then, my other question was, the consultant that was brought in by Mass Housing Partnership, if that person is being brought in by Mass Housing, I'd have a hard time considering that person not biased.
I've
And
worked with this person before, just so you know, they have a list of people from Mass Housing that are consultants, that
Yep.
they're as unbiased as they could possibly be. And
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that work in that, and good people, but still, it's their project, and like, if they said like, oh,
Yeah,
there's
but
no.
it's really not this consultant's project. No. These consultants, as I understand, are there for the towns. They just happen to work through Mass Housing. When someone applies, Mass Housing basically just supplies a list of consultants that we can choose from that they're gonna pay.
Okay,
They're not there to push the project.
Okay.
They're there to help us through the process.
okay. I don't know if that would be like I don't know if that makes any
A
sense. Like, it would be
conflict of
hard for me to see that
interest,
person
no.
as like not have their own interests of Mass Housing.
No, that's not how
Top of that,
this
okay.
works, no.
Has there been any, or will there be any contact with like the EPA as far as the wildlife that are in there?
This project has to go before the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
And it's actually a good question, because there's a lot of misinformation on social media
Yep.
regarding this.
Just a little bit.
Every project that goes to the Conservation Commission has to go to DEP. So if the Conservation Commission approves it, it's reviewed by DEP. If Conservation made a mistake, DEP will kick it back. If Conservation denies a project that meets all the wetland regulations, DEP will approve it.
Okay.
But every project every notice of intent that goes to the Conservation Commission is reviewed by DEP.
Okay.
If you see these SE 595 numbers on project, that's the number that DEP gives them after they've reviewed what the Conservation Commission did and says everything is the way it's supposed to be.
Okay.
You are allowed to build near wetlands.
Right, I know
You're
that.
allowed to put bridges over wetlands. You just have to do it the correct way.
Right.
And if you fill wetlands, you have to create wetlands. So they're allowed to fill up to 5,000 square feet on a project and replicate that somewhere else on the project, so there's no net loss of wetlands.
Right. We went through that with Dog Park, too. Dog Park.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any? Rick, do you want to?
Rick Collins, 74 Orange Street. I'm here as a citizen, not as a planning board member. In a previous life, I served on a Senate committee investigating fraud and abuse in the 40B program. And we found that, yes, there was rampant fraud and abuse in the 40B program. This is back in 2009. The state has supposedly tightened guidelines. Basically, with a 40B, they can't make over a certain profit margin on the project. Anything over that profit margin, they have to kick back to the towns for additional affordable housing units. The problem was a lot of contractors were inflating their costs to help drive down that profit margin, or using related companies to do the building, marking up their marketing efforts, inflating land use values, bringing in costs for other unrelated projects, all sorts of stuff. It resulted in multiple complaints with the Attorney General's office. It was an issue. They've adopted new cost certification guidelines in the years since. They've required them to use independent auditors to do audits of the books. We haven't heard of issues. Partly might be because they're not looking for issues, because it's a different Inspector General and Attorney General. Bottom line, though, is the rules do allow host communities to do a follow-up audit to make sure they are within the rules, that they haven't been gouging, that they haven't been charging things to this project, that they've living within the cost certification. And again, if they go over, the benefit comes back to the town in the form of additional money for additional affordable housing units. So I would encourage the town to consider, when this is all done, how many years from now, employing its own auditor to go over, make sure that they are meeting the standards and that nothing fishy has been going on. I have no evidence that that would happen, but I think it would be best for the town to protect itself and to consider going that route down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak.
All right, Ronald Howe, 149 Walnut Street. I live at the intersection of Summer and Walnut, right down the street from this project. From the get-go, the previous project, I mean, it was just not good for Abington. There's no benefits to the town at all. The only thing I was wondering is, how many units of housing do we need to make it to 10%? I heard it was very few. And is there a way to convert existing units to affordable housing so that we reach the 10%? Because as far as I'm concerned, we should be looking at every way we can to try and just block this project.
Scott, do you know the percentage?
No, I don't know the percentage offhand. I do believe that in the conversations I've had with Liz that we were maybe 7 units out.
I heard 7 or 9.
Yeah, and that's always a moving target. The more people build, the more that changes. It is an interesting, and it's definitely something that I think the Affordable Housing Trust can look at, is conversion of units. You can, you can use existing stock that may otherwise not be affordable and turn it into affordable units and offer some incentive to it. It's not easily done, but it's something that they could consider, but it would not, to get those 7 units done, it would take a fairly good amount of time to do it. And the other problem with it is to propose or to try and find someone who'd be willing, or if even it was the Affordable Housing Trust, to take on a project, say it's one of the school buildings or a piece of vacant land and put up the units. There's still no water for them either. So it is difficult, but it can be done. And again, we're bringing on a consultant to work with the Affordable Housing Trust that can definitely help them navigate that.
But would that stop this project?
No,
Because this project's already been.
Yeah,
planned,
we
right?
would never get it done in time to stop this project. No, we're not going to get.
We would have to go through the same process.
Yeah, I mean, or whatever we were going to do to convert anything into affordable, we would not get it done in time for this to go through mass housing. I don't think it'll be a long process. I think, mass housing is going to look at this project. Hopefully they consider all of our concerns, especially the concerns that we have with water. But I'm not optimistic that mass housing will agree with us. So I think that the project's likely to end up in application to the ZBA.
With the new census last year, that number could go up.
Yeah, it could. It could change a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Donna Peavy, 501 Summer Street. I too have been since the first project, and can I go through you, Mr. Chair, to Chief Nuttall? Sorry, you're here on the hot seat. The very first project, we had a lot of problems with our fire engines trying to get through it. I only saw the blueprints really quickly. Is this going through him too, making sure all of our apparatus can get through it? And again, my concern I was very excited to see 2 new firemen, but are we getting our police going to be enough? Summer Street, I almost got killed coming here tonight trying to get out of my driveway. My biggest concern is 236 apartments.
Yeah.
This whole project, they beginning to swore to us, only 1 car in an apartment. You can't tell me that they're going to have 1 car in an apartment. I mean, this guy swore, but have you seen the blueprints?
So if I can answer your question a little bit, when they apply, the level of detail for this point in the application process is schematic. And they will eventually have to satisfy, with whatever they do, they will have to satisfy the requirements of the fire chief as far as access for vehicles. I think as it looks now, it's very tight. I won't speak for the chief, but I think it would be very difficult for him to have his vehicles in there. But they only have to supply that level of detail at this point. And as they work their way through the process, those things get ironed out. Those issues get resolved. But they do not offer anything more than conceptual right now. But when you look at the conceptual drawings, I agree, and I think, again, I won't speak for the chief, I think he agrees that it is it's very problematic with
My
access.
father was a fireman, so I know fire engines do, and they don't look like they're gonna turn around those very clearly.
No.
Chief, I know you submitted, but do you want to get up and say something real quick? Just
Sorry, I see fire.
No problem. Excellent question, and I agree with Scott, and I agree as well. As it stands right now, I don't think the apparatus would fit through. However, as I said in my, I think I mentioned that in my comments, these are preliminary drawings without any legible dimensions on anything. We have much greater plans we'd have to go through. When we did the site walkthrough last week, I specifically asked them, do they have my apparatus dimensions? They do not at this time, which I will certainly give them because that's everybody thinks it's the long tower truck. It's not, it's the ambulance. If the ambulance is the widest vehicle we have. And if you misplace one parked vehicle anywhere in that facility, just like anybody driving through some of the new construction at Southfield, how narrow that is, you misplace one small Prius, I cannot get the ambulance through. The tower truck's actually the most narrow truck I have. It's the longest, but it's actually quite maneuverable. The ambulance is the issue. The ambulance is the widest vehicle. All of that would be ironed out, as well as, just the building itself, the building access. I have concerns over the height, because even though I don't know the dimensions of the building, I'm assuming it's at least probably 60 feet, if it's or 50 feet if it's a 4-story plus an additional story for the roof. Our aerial length is 100 feet, however, that's going straight up. We need the reach from wherever we're parked with that, and we have to make sure we can hit that. If those vehicles are parked between us in that vehicle, in that building, and we still have to get the outriggers out, that each foot that we have to get further away from that building affects the reach of that aerial. So these are all things that we spent an unbelievable amount of time with the previous proponent on this, and we finally ironed everything out. I basically green-lighted it, or whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant. We just look at this professionally. The fire department had no reason not to approve the previous plans. We spent an unbelievable amount of time on that. And then he pulled it, and now we've got this. So we've got to start that entire process over again.
You know what I'll do also that may be helpful is when I do put the link online for public comment, I'll post the comments that we do have to this point, so the public can see them.
One more quick thing, sorry. Do I have to go all the way over there?
Yep.
Sorry. Where you come out of that street, we have Progress Street, now you have that with the train station. I know it's COVID, no one's there now, but hopefully they'll go back to it. We have a brand-new apartment building that people are all of a sudden moving into right across from it, the Woodlands, and then some little gas automotive place there. Is there gonna be some kind of traffic something there? Like a light or something, this is...
That's to be determined, again.
Because all of a sudden it was, when I moved in, it was a foundation for 3 years. This guy came and said he was gonna build this thing, all this complex and everything, and that building went up like a shot. And it's got all these apartments in it now.
So that, right now, there's no plan for the traffic light, but as this project, if it continues forward, like we said, a whole new traffic study is going to be done, and if it warrants, if whatever it warrants will happen, but I don't know.
And that was one of the things on the walk around that they talked about, was a new traffic study and doing it at specific times, when school's in or school's getting out, different levels of the study.
All the speed limit signs, because
So-
again, they left the 25 speed limit out. The traffic study, they left a lot of stuff out last time.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one that stayed home for that walkthrough. I tried to be good. I'll be at the next one.
So, Scott, I think, you compile a list of concerns, on the project, so we can get it over to Mass Housing, but
Yep.
I think it'd be good to get it on.
I'm back again. Beth Owens, 28 Pond Street. Quick question. So if we're going to have these new apartments, obviously the population's going to go up in town. Are we, or has it been looked at to, obviously like, the calls for services are going to go up. Are their budgets, police and fire, going to be increased to meet the demand of more residents of the town? Because now they're going to be even more spread out than they already are.
I think that's all part of the process that will be submitted,
Yeah, right now, that's a hypothetical,
but that will all be
we
submitted.
can never answer, but it is addressed and Scott's gonna put these online, but the deputy police chief actually addresses calls for service. in
Okay.
that.
All right.
So it is being thought about, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I wanna say, but we certainly couldn't answer the question on what effect.
Yeah, no, I know that, but
Yes.
I don't know, like, would you agree it's a trend, like more people, more 911 calls, more need for,
It's something that's on there that we're gonna be moving forward with.
okay, and then if we're gonna have a traffic study done, is Mass Housing Partnership paying for that? We're not gonna foot the bill for that, right?
The applicant.
The applicant.
Pays for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you. I should have sat closer. Aren't you glad I had to ever come?
Anything further from the board?
I have nothing for you. No.
Okay. Okay, so, moving on, appoint a representative to the Old Colony Elder Services. So we did get, one person submitted, Ann Welch. Is she here tonight, Ann?
I believe she is.
Okay. Ann did submit, saying she wanted to volunteer.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ann Walsh to Old Colony Elder Service.
I'll second that motion.
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
This is from the summer concert, if you want to hand those down.
So next up is Summer Concerts Committee regarding a new sign. In your packets, you will see they submitted a picture and some dimensions of that sign.
Not in the packet we handed out. I think it's in your packet from Nancy.
It came separate in the,
Yeah.
Does anyone want to speak to it? Jan, do you want to speak to this at all? Or-
I believe Nancy gave you an
Nancy, you want?
overview.
Okay. Perfect.
Nancy Reed, 75 Plymouth Street, and I am the chairman of the Summer Concerts Committee.
So Nancy, you're just looking to put a sign, welcome to the Millennial Complex, John B. Riley Field, all-weather track, Catherine and Joseph Nisby Bandstand. And it would just be adjacent to the new entrance to the bandstand now that you have there.
Yeah.
so you just need our permission for this beautiful sign to be put up?
Yep.
What is that?
You just need our permission for this sign to be put up?
That's right.
Yeah.
And a lot better than that picture.
I think it looks good now.
I think I know how it's gonna come out. It's
I
gonna
was
look real
told
nice.
that I had to get permission from the selectmen.
Now, this is because it's going on town
I also have to get a
land.
permit from the building inspector. And
Well, I
that's
can't
in
help
the
you with
process.
Because it's going on town land, it's
Well, according to his email, it's just gonna add more work to it.
it's going to add more work, but
Anyway, I'll make a motion that we approve this sign.
I'll second that.
okay, motion is second. Do we have any further discussion?
Because nobody knows what's in there. There's no sign, because we ran out of money way back in 2005.
I think it looks great. It's going to be a good addition, and I love the entrance now, what they did with the two
Just so
brick
they know,
pillars.
that's all CPA funds, and this will also be the rest of it.
Yeah, it's great.
Great use of the funds.
We can't wait to get back to summer concerts, right? That's more the,
Yeah, we're
Keep
waiting.
moving the dates further along. August 1st is technically the opening date.
that's good. We'll take it, right?
Right
So,
about now, if they increase the outdoor limits by August 1st, we're good to go.
do a first and second. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Unanimous?
I have Tim and Alex.
Okay,
Is that
thank
the-
you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully we
Thank you.
see you at a concert.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
See you there.
Okay, so next up is amend the entertainment license of Webster Timberlanes to include outdoors.
Yeah, if you want to speak, so, as you guys recall, gentlemen, you gave me the authority to allow the outdoor seating and the outdoor service of alcohol, but they wanted to include outdoor entertainment. He already has a entertainment license for entertainment indoors, so this is just a request to amend it to further allow the outdoor entertainment. Within those rules and regs that we did say that they would have to come to the selectmen for approval for this.
Okay.
So what hours are you looking for outdoors?
So the hours that we're looking to be available outside, we put in the packet until midnight, just because that's when our license goes to. However, after I did speak to, and I want to let the board know, we did take the time to speak to the building department, the fire department. I also spoke to the Board of Health, and as well as or I should say the health agent, and the police department. Police department had mentioned about the noise ordinances, and while we were aware of those, I wanted to make sure I went back and looked at it. And, we wouldn't have any entertainment till, after 10 PM, which the noise ordinances require 10 to 6, that there wouldn't be any noise in the neighborhood. And, the entertainment, of course, we're over a very commercial area. The entertainment generally would be, it could be anything from some country music, pop, oldies, acoustic, We'll have a food truck out there. Generally, all the food will be wrapped up before 10. There may be a comedy night, just trying to bring a different, some different entertainment venues to the town, some fun, but also helping our business. And I did want to, if I could take a second, I did want to thank the leadership of Abington, all the selectmen, the Board of Health, for all the work that they did through COVID. Just checking in with us and making sure that we were okay and everything was going all right, but also helping us promote different things that we were trying to do. We really appreciated it. It was obviously a tough year, being the type of business that we were, where every day you turn on the TV and it says, don't go inside and don't do this and don't do that. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to maybe get back a little bit in the summer where we're normally quiet, to get a little bit back for our business. I did want to say, too, some success, and I know this is off a little bit, but I wanted to mention it in a public forum. We've continued to deliver on our promise to the town. We started up a new junior league. We have over 50 kids in our junior league, which we've never had in town before, actually not in many, many years. Our senior leagues were strong this year. We maintained senior hours to protect them, but we had, 5 days a week, we had seniors in the building. They really enjoyed that because it really was not a lot for them to do. We had all the proper distancing and everything else that we needed to do. We even had some disabled groups in the afternoons. We offered some new dining options to the town. We've been a responsible recreation, as well as our liquor license. We've had no issues with the police or fire with that. So again, we intend to do the same with this outdoor seating. We want to make it fun. We want to make it a good part for the town, but we certainly don't want to impose on people. I think that there is room, though, for some entertainment over there, and if it's done responsibly, I think it'll be a great addition for the town.
So, just in your drawing, you have food trucks. Have you, we'd obviously get permits for the food trucks for the premise?
So the Board of Health mentioned about food trucks, that they have to be approved vendors. There has to be inspection, things like that. He said that they're very familiar with what they need to do, and I just need to explain to them that they need to have some certification from the Board of Health, which they get from them. The fire department also mentioned to make sure that they have a propane permit, if they're going to have propane on site. So we're going to make sure we follow through with that.
And the storage will be behind the building?
So the storage, I talked to the building department, and they said that it needed to be located 5 feet from the edge of the building, so it'll actually stick out at the back corner of the building, just to maintain that 5-foot distance that they're looking for. It's not going to house people. It's only going to house, and that was part of the permit process. You had to have a plan for how you're going to store things. It's really going to hold like picnic tables and umbrellas and things like that we're going to move out of the way. It's going to be a little bit of work on our part, but if you look at the drawing, you see the picnic tables. We need that parking Monday through Thursday, so this is just a Friday through Sunday weekend time, where again, in the summer, we're pretty quiet during that time frame. We're almost no one's in there. So in any case, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be moving those picnic tables out of the way. Everything else is either portable or collapsible, if you will.
And you have the temporary fencing on the front side, and you'll have people could come in from the parking lot, or they come through the building?
Yeah, so the fencing, I'm not sure if you have the latest drawing, but there's a little black line that shows some fencing that leads customers over to the side door to the building. That'll give them access to bathrooms. There's men's and women's room that'll be open when we're open. Okay. The fire department also recommended that we provide accessibility, so we're going to make sure that there's a corridor there, so that they can get stretchers in and things like that if something were to happen. And then the last thing was, they wanted to make sure we had fire extinguishers, which we'll have. And, we're also going to, with the Board of Health, we're going to maintain that 6 feet of separation between the tables and things like that.
Just one last question. As far as your section, Lucy's Pizza Bar, what will that setup be for you outside?
Primarily like an easy-up pizza stand. We may or may not have a grill out there. If we do, we'll apply for a permit, for the propane to be outdoors. But, by and large, it's just going to be a serving counter for both, whether they're going to have drinks, it could be non-alcoholic beverages as well as alcoholic beverages. We'll have a serving counter out there for that, and then next will be a serving counter basically for pizza and the different items that we provide through our restaurant.
Okay. Anything from the board?
Wood?
Yeah, just real quick, I have no concerns with the outdoor seating for the food and everything. I know it's really necessary these times especially, but the outdoor music till 10 o'clock at night, you are in a heavily commercial area, but your one neighbor is our senior housing. And my concern is that 10 o'clock might be a little too late, especially if you're doing more than acoustic music. If you're doing full bands or anything, I'd
I
have
don't
serious
expect to do
concerns.
full bands at all. I think it's gonna be more like 7 o'clock with a DJ who will be doing like a bingo game where he plays a song and you X off the box, and they're done by 9 o'clock generally, so.
Yeah,
I wouldn't anticipate-
things like that, I have no problem, just, I mean,
Yeah.
having Metallica perform outside of senior housing just could end bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We hope we offer, I mentioned it, I had a banquet with one of my senior leagues in there, and I was telling them a little bit about them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I would love to be, over there, and they're excited about it. They're looking forward to being able to come over and listen to some music outside, so, I think, it should work out. Generally, the music will start around 7, if at all, and, it'll end, I would say most nights by 9, but, I would like my application until 10, just to give us that buffer, and, so we don't avoid any issues,
I do know you to be a good neighbor for the town and trust that should complaints come in, you'll make adjustments.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no
We
problem.
can always monitor this.
Yeah.
We do all our
Yeah,
licenses.
we absolutely have the authority to ask them to come in and, adjust.
Absolutely.
But I think John's shown since he's been in Abington,
Yeah.
in an open, in a very difficult time, but he's been a good neighbor and he's really trying to help out the town. So I have no doubt that if there's complaints, he'll address it. So I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's not a public hearing.
No. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, gentlemen. Look forward to seeing you this summer.
Okay.
All right, so next up is the Abington debt obligations presentation from Treasurer Collector Sonia Hodge.
All right, we're having a few technical difficulties. We'll see if we can get our PowerPoint up and running, but if not, maybe.
You want to move on while they work on it?
Yeah, so if we can jump.
I don't want to get caught on PowerPoint.
It's not you guys. But please, yeah, if you can slide down, that'd be great. But,
Okay, so we'll,
yeah, if we can jump over to,
we have a notice for a Board of Health vacancy. I'll just read the letter we received from the Chairman of the Abington Board of Health, Aaron Christian. Dear board members, pursuant to the Town Charter, Article 3, Elections and Elected Officials, Section 314, Vacancy in Office, the Board of Health gives notice to the Board of Selectmen of a current vacancy. On April 26, 2021, a vacancy was created due to the resignation of Alexander Hagerty. As such, we formally request the Board of Selectmen give notice of the vacancy per Section 7-11, Notice of Vacancies. We considerably request Board of Selectmen update the Board of Health when the notice is posted on the town bulletin board and of the joint meeting date during which the Board of Selectmen and Board of Health will vote to fill the vacancy. Scott, could we have this posted?
yep, I will post it tomorrow, if that's the pleasure of the board.
And then this will be, we would post it, and then we would have to hold a joint meeting of the Board of Health and Board of Selectmen.
Probably in June, first meeting in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't do it at town meeting, could we? It's not enough
It
time.
says not earlier than 14 days nor later than 30 days.
Yeah, so we'd have to wait till the
Yeah.
following.
Do the first meeting in June,
Okay.
then this town meeting would be.
Customarily, we only meet once in June anyway, but,
Yeah.
so at our June meeting.
Customarily.
Just letting you know, Scott.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get that posted. All right, so next is the Police Chief Search Committee. This is something I had put on the agenda. I know we had some discussions about it. I just wanted, Scott, if you could go over exactly what this committee would be doing, the role of the committee, and I know the board as a whole maybe wanted to discuss it a little bit, so I wanted to put it on, have a discussion.
So I did submit to you for your review is the people, the applicants and the citizens that are interested. I handed out tonight the ones that came in since that email. So as you can see, we have quite a bit of interest, which is great. My idea of the search committee to work with me is really, I want some public outreach and some help from the public in, determining what it is that we've had, what we see as issues, what we see going forward, that, that the community is looking for, any problems that they have, experienced or perceive, that we should keep into consideration when we're hiring a new chief. So I would like the committee to work with me, with the consultant, as we formulate, our questions, for basically that first round of, when we get in the applications, we want to see exactly, what is it that we are expecting or what we're looking for in this next person that's going to be with us, hopefully for a long time.
And just looking at it, looking at the charter and what it reads, and the Board of Selectmen shall determine qualifications for appointment of the office of Chief of Police. I don't know what the board's thoughts are. My thoughts would be that we, kind of like the police study, we create a subcommittee from the Selectmen. We put 2 people that maybe can work with the town manager and this company, maybe come up with some things, and then from there, this committee then would, this police chief search committee that we're creating would then take over with Scott.
And I think conceptually, what would be good, as you say, is if we do have like this little subcommittee to work with the committee and work to formulate those questions and help us determine, exactly what is the minimum qualifications. We have a general posting that's out there, but we do want to hone it in. I expect I would hope there'd be quite a bit of interest in this position. So yeah, it would be great for someone to meet with myself, the committee. We want to make sure we get it right, so as much input we can get would be very helpful.
So as far as appointing citizens, let me back up. So you'd like to see 2 selectmen on a subcommittee?
Yeah, just
similar to the town manager search?
Yeah, it's similar to the town manager search and when we hired MRI.
Okay, and then how many people from the general public?
So then right now I think we have 2 on this committee that we
I thought it was 2, and the reason for that, and to have them not, picked by yourself and one picked by the moderator, was to make sure that we were, nobody can accuse us of stacking a committee, certainly when it's that small, but the idea is to keep it nimble, and I'm open to, if you feel as though we need more participation, that's fine. But again, it's, we want to make sure that it's people who are accessible, people who can put, be available when needed. We have quite a bit of interest in it, so I'm definitely not opposed to adding more people.
I was going to say that we have,
I would like to add.
We have, 12 applications now?
Yeah, I think 3. Even if you wanted to go to 5, but I think 3, and then if we had 2 selectmen, that's not really on that committee, but.
Well, I think the understanding would be the selectmen would be the initial with Scott, and then that committee would kind of dissolve, and this committee would pick up.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see, I think we could do a committee of 5.
I think we could easily do 5 with just the applicants we have.
We have 12 applicants. Town moderator, I'm fine with letting him keep his one pick on there if we want that. I'm fine with the board picking all 5 as well. We have plenty of applicants.
I don't see why the board just can't pick the 5. Be done with it. What was your thought again?
It's really just to make sure that we're getting a good cross-section and that this board is not ever accused of stacking. When you look at the charter and how committees are made up, committees can be made up. It could be a town manager committee where I just decide who's going to be on it. It could be a selectman committee, or it could be a committee set by the town moderator. In this particular case, my thought was, let's make sure that we're getting as diverse of a pick as possible.
No, I get it.
I do like seeing, I would think a few more people on the committee, just get more input from the
Or do you want
residents.
the board to do 4 and then? the moderator.
I think that would be fine. I would appreciate
I
that.
mean, the moderator's gonna pick from,
Same stack, this is
Same
it.
stack.
From this stack,
Yeah.
yeah, no, he
Yeah.
can't just pick some, it'd have to be from this.
I mean, we can have the moderator pick initially, so we're not,
Yeah,
and then we
and I don't believe anymore. I think the deadline was today, so I don't believe
Yeah,
any more
I-
are coming in.
So I think we could pick our 4 tonight, correct?
yeah, do we wanna pick tonight?
Well, if the deadline's today, they could.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't had a chance to look them all over, because,
Oh,
We
like
wanna
I
have them
said,
come in and speak.
Yeah, a couple of
Or even
them
today.
they technically could be in the email waiting for.
Yeah, that's true, too, yeah.
And that is-
I would recommend we put it on next week's agenda. If anybody can't be here, then we can sort of
We'll talk about it later.
talk about it later.
But yeah, that way we could have them in and anyone could speak if they wanted. By then, we could have the moderators pick if that's what we're doing.
I'll ask him, sure.
That sounds good, yeah.
Yeah,
And then I guess just sort of pick out of the 5 of you, which 2 want to participate.
do we wanna form that subcommittee tonight and pick that, or do we wanna do that next week?
I think the sooner you pick that would
I
be
think
helpful
that
for me.
maybe do that tonight.
We can do that tonight.
Whatever the board thinks, I'd be willing to be on it. If anyone else on the board,
I'll take it if no one else does.
I'm more than happy to step in.
so,
Just 2 of you.
yeah.
Do we need to nominate? What do we
You wanna
want to do?
nominate, do,
It's up to you. I mean, I would recommend somebody makes a motion.
All right, so I'll start. I'll make a motion to appoint Alex Haggerty as one of the members of the Selectmen on that committee.
I'll second.
okay. Any other motions?
Any discussion?
Well, we're gonna do another motion.
Should we?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
I'll
you wanna go?
nominate, Kevin then.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
Any other motions?
Any other motions? I'll nominate Alex Bezanson to be on the board.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, so we'll take them in order. The first motion is for Alex Hagerty. All in favor of Alex Hagerty?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We'll do the second motion was for myself, Kevin Navajo, to be on the board. All in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
Opposed?
yeah.
Okay, unanimous, okay, so we have our 2.
Okay, be in my office at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Notice I kept it real quiet. during-
Alex, Alex, you're the new guy, remember, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, are we up and running yet, Sue? No, okay.
You want to just make slides and hand those out? That might be easier.
So can I just go back one step? Are you gonna have Sean pick someone before next week?
Yeah. I will ask Sean this week to pick someone out of them. And then I will email you who that is, so you
Okay.
can take it out of your file. All right, so in anticipation of town meeting, and I think this is probably something that I would like to do annually, is, you know, do this presentation. Sonia's put a good presentation together for us of just where our current debt obligations are. And in this particular case, since we have a fairly large project proposed for town meeting, and we know that the question will come up, is I've also asked her to include what would happen, or, you know, when the fire station is actually approved. But I think this is important to do before town meeting every year. We've done it. Sonia put it out for the Finance Committee last week. It'll be, obviously, I think that maybe made some adjustments in response to Finance Committee comments, and then anything that this board sees prior to town meeting, we can make some more adjustments. But with that, I will give it to you, Sonia.
All right, good evening, thanks for having me.
Evening.
It's a very quick presentation, nothing too long, nothing too in-depth, but I did bring all of my data with me, so if you have questions, feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer them. We wanted to talk about our overall debt and then specifically the debt exclusion, since our excluded debt goes on top of a tax bill over and above the normal tax levy. So the new middle and high school, that's an excluded debt project. And so we have our typical debt, tax levy, and then we add on top the amount that we need to fund our debt service for the excluded debt, like the school. And then we'll talk about the tax bill impact if the fire station is approved. So the first chart that we have is on the third slide. This is all town and school debt based on our annual payments. This does not include any water or sewer debt or any of the South Shore Voc Tech debt that's being proposed. Now you can see this is including debt exclusion and tax levy debt. So all of your other debt is going to be anything that's not the middle and high school or the proposed fire station. So you can see the different colored bars show you how much for each type of debt that we're paying every single year. And I went out 10 years to give you a good picture of what's going on. We're assuming that the fire station we would start making payments on in fiscal year 2025. You'll remember that there's a $3.5 million ban on the town meeting warrant this year, and that's for the design phase, to get all of our ducks in a row to decide exactly what the fire station is going to include and how much it's going to cost before we go to voters and ask for the full project. I'm assuming here in these calculations that the $3.5 million that we do to start, if it's approved, we would only pay interest for the first couple of years, and then if the full fire station is approved, we would roll that in to the debt exclusion, which is typical. We did that with the new middle and high school as well. Any questions on this first chart? We can always go back to it if we need to. Okay, the next one shows you a little more clearly the different funding sources. So the gray bars are the debt exclusions. The orange bar is the proposed fire station, which would also be a debt exclusion. And then the green line is the tax levy debt. I wanted to show that separately because it doesn't really impact the tax bills like the school and the fire station do. Now, also included in the existing debt exclusions is the police station, the senior center, and the high school windows and doors. You can see that there's a small drop down after fiscal years 27 and 28, and that's when the police station, senior center, and high school windows and doors come off. So you can see it's not a very large amount in comparison to the rest of our debt exclusions. The next page is going to be the popular page, I think. This one shows the tax bill impact for the proposed fire station, and this is just the fire station. I've included home values at $300,000, $500,000, and $700,000, so you can see the different impacts depending on the value of the home.
This would be per year, like per,
Mm-hmm.
so the 600 would be
Right,
added
so
on top of.
exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you can see for the first year in fiscal year 25, we're looking at, for a $700,000 home, it'd be a little over $600 for the year, and that's spread out over 4 quarters. For a $500,000 home, it would be about $450 a year, and for a $300,000 home, it would be less than $300 a year. And then you can see year over year, it does go down slightly as we pay less and less every year. Not a drastic amount, but it is something. And then the final slide shows all of the debt exclusions and the impact that they have on the tax bills. So you can see the orange lines, those are the other debt exclusions, the police station, senior center, and high school windows and doors. And you can see they're completely gone by fiscal year 2029. The green is the middle high school, and then the gray is the proposed fire station. So as we pay these debt exclusions off, it comes off of the tax bill completely.
So just so the people listening at home, our tax rate now is just under $17.
16.48 this year.
Yeah. So all the current debt exclusion is included in that $16?
Yes. Yes.
Just so they know, it's not going to be $17 plus $300 more a year or $500 more. It's all going to be in the tax rate.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. But of course, just like they saw with the school, the tax rate will go up.
It will go up.
Right.
But it's not going to be in addition to whatever we set our rate, just so it's clear for people.
Yes.
You're not going to get an extra bill for an additional $600 a year.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions that I can answer?
Is this going to be available for residents to look at those slides online?
I believe the intent was to put it
Yep.
on the website as well as at town meeting. We'll have it up on the screen for everyone to see as well. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sonia.
Sonia.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have copies of the,
Yeah, let me check that copy machine.
okay. Does the board want to take a quick recess for a minute, just to, Scott grabs the copies if anyone has to. Warrant. It is pretty lengthy, so we'll go through it. I'll read them. Some of them are rather long, so I'll give you a Reader's Digest version if Scott has anything to add. If you guys have any comments as we go, please just stop me and we'll talk about it. And then at the end, we could make one motion to approve. So the special town meeting, Article 1 is snow and ice costs. Article 2 is payment of prior year's bills. Article 3 is improvement to water treatment plant. I'm looking for money to improve the plant. Article 4 is funding to prepare MVP grant application. Let me see, this is a grant to hire an engineering firm to assist writing a Massachusetts Vulnerability Preparedness Grant. Article 5 is funding for the MS4 drainage improvements. This would be implement and install stormwater management improvements in accordance with the new requirements of the EPA Small Municipal Separate Storm System. Article 6 is funding for Green Community Grant. This would be to supplement the Green Community Grant to fund energy efficient improvements to town buildings and anything incidental relative thereto. That is all for the special town meeting warrant. Does anyone have any comments on that?
No, sir.
Okay. We can take a motion for the special town meeting, separate than the annual?
Yep.
Okay. So, if anyone has any comments, I'll entertain a motion for the special town meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
I'll second the motion.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? We'll move on to the annual town meeting warrant. Article 1 is just the fiscal year 2022 operating budget. Article 2 is funding of the capital plan. I won't read these line for line, but capital plan includes water department, sewer department, Strawberry Valley, golf. Move on to Articles 3 through 10 are consent agenda articles. These are basically routine articles each year. So Article 3 is sick leave buyback. Article 4 is annual funding of student transportation. Article 5 is health imperative funding. Article 6 is Arc of the South Shore funding. Article 7 is matching grant for hazard mitigation. Article 8 is matching grant for Mill Street dam repair. Article 9 is establishment of new stormwater revolving fund. And Article 10 is deletion of building department revolving fund. Does anyone have any questions, comments on any of those so far?
Why is Article 10? What's the deal with that?
So, for whatever reason, the building department revenue used to go into a revolving fund, and a percentage of the revenue stayed there, and the other percentage came to the town. And certain, some of the employees were paid out of it, and some of the expenses were paid out of the revolving fund. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I wanted all the revenue should go into the general fund, like everybody, other department's revenue. And then all of the expenses will also, so you'll see an increase in the operating budget for that department, but it's relative to the amount of revenue.
It really isn't an increase.
No, there's no increase. Nobody will be displaced. No jobs are in jeopardy. It's just really accounting properly for the income.
Do you happen to know what the income is?
I don't. Sue was just running down to grab the budget. She'll be able to tell you exactly what it is.
Just curious. We can continue.
Okay. So that's the end of the consent agenda articles, which again are the routine articles. So Article 11 is the community preservation budget. We see if the town will vote to adopt and report the Community Preservation Committee for the fiscal year 2022 community preservation budget to appropriate or reserve for later appropriation monies for the Community Preservation Fund, estimated annual revenues for the administrative expenses of the Community Preservation Committee, reserve allocations as required for the specific projects as presented, and for all other necessary and proper expenses for the fiscal year, or take any other relative action thereto. They did submit, there are, appropriations for projects, open space, recreation, contribution to the reserve fund, funding sources. Article 12.
Article 1.
So Article 12 is design of the new fire station. So this is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds, borrow, or otherwise provide the sum of $3.5 million for engineering, design, and project management costs and similar associated expenses for the first phase of the new fire station, and anything incidental or related thereto, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute all documents and take such actions as may be necessary to effectuate the purposes of this vote or take any other action relative thereto. Any questions, comments, concerns so far? Scott, did you have anything to add to that fire station, to design or anything?
I guess just, in a nutshell, this keeps this project moving forward. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion on it, but what this will allow the committee to do is refine the design of this building and come down with, the ultimate, cost of what it's going to be. The plan here is to, and actually Derek can probably speak to it also from the committee, but our plan would be to work with the community again, as we refine this, to make sure we get input as this project unfolds. And the idea would be to be ready for next year's town meeting with an actual construction cost.
Okay.
But again, I think Derek should elaborate on it.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Derek Amati. I'm the chairman of the Fire Station Building Committee. So this warrant article is really just to get us to the next step. The feasibility study was the initial portion. All that really did was just give us generalized schematics of what the town could and would need. The next step would be to get into the actual design development portion. And because of everything that was going on with the world, we decided that it'd be best to kind of get this part done first, to give the residents an exact idea of what the fire station would come to, what it would look like, what it would cost. This part covers all that design development section. So by doing this, we'll be able to come back next year, just like Scott just said, and give an exact figure. That way, the residents will know. It'll also update that presentation that Sonia had just given to an exact figure. So everybody will be well informed and know exactly what's going to happen.
Do you see this as a $3.5 million gamble?
So it's not all of it would, part of that $3.5 million is goes all the way through to the end of completion of the project. It includes hiring an OPM and owner's project manager. But if this project doesn't move past next town meeting, not all of these funds will be spent. And all that's going to be broken down at town meeting for a presentation, and we're going to get those figures out starting tomorrow, trying to get everybody well aware of what's going on before town meeting even happens. All this was discussed at the FinCom meeting last week. But we really want to just let everybody know, it's not that this is all lost. There is a decent amount, a good size of this that is part of design development. But once that's all done, those designs are set, and we'll have them. But as far as what the actual cost, building construction continues to keep going up. The longer this project takes, the more expensive building's going to be. But at least by doing this part, we can present at the next town meeting exact figures of what we'll need. And if it doesn't pass then, whatever wasn't spent out of that $3.5 million would come back.
Yeah, and I might add to that, you know, again, this is, this does give us the opportunity to really refine that and work again with Finance Committee and this committee and other committees, just to say, you know, nobody can deny that this is something that we need. So obviously, the biggest, you know, hurdle right now is getting into a price that the town can afford, but still gives us, you know, the building and the space that is needed. We have a lot of very expensive equipment and a lot of, you know, personnel that we have to take care of. And, you know, right now, we're not able to do that in the facilities that we have. So something that we have to do, and in order to get beyond the phase that we're in, which is just a study phase, we need this money. And again, probably as much as $1.5 million of this, if we don't go into construction, won't be spent. It might even be a little higher than that. So, you know, right now, the intent on this is just to be able to keep moving and refine these plans.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Anything further from the board on that?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Beth Owens, 28 Pond Street. So if we are able, if you guys get what you're, like if you got like the design and stuff all set, they honed it down and figured out like the schematics of everything, is there any way to hold like a special town meeting or a special Board of Selectmen meeting so that they don't have to wait, you know, say annual town meeting is in 8 months, isn't until 8 more months, but they have all that stuff down, like done now.
It will take almost from here to next town meeting to get to that level of detail that they need. So it's not likely to be finished before then. There is quite a bit of work to be done. They are just in a schematic phase.
Yeah.
So yeah, if by some miracle it was done earlier, yeah, I would love to do a special town meeting, but it's very unlikely that we would. There's so much that has to be done.
Right. Hope's dashed. All right. No, thank you.
Okay. So next up is Article 13, again, related to the fire station, but purchase of vacant land off Bedford Street. That you see at the town would raise an appropriate transfer from available funds to borrow the sum of $130,000 to purchase a parcel of land at 0 Bedford Street, map 38, and lot 16, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 14 is funding of roadway pavement projects. This again would be to borrow the sum of $775,000 to pay costs grinding and paving of Hancock and Lincoln Streets, planning, engineering, designing, equipping. Article 15 is planning for building updates at town offices and public library. This would be to borrow money to pay for the cost of designing, estimating, engineering, and planning for the future replacement of the town office's roof, windows, and exterior doors, and the public library's roof, all of which are approximately 25 years old. and any other costs of retaining professional designers and consultants.
On that one, real quick, it just says to borrow a sum of money.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to hear back from our engineer on what the actual cost will be to do it. I had to do a procurement to get an engineer. So I probably will have that on town meeting floor. If I can get it to you sooner, but it may not be till then.
Article 16 is revision to the Affordable Housing Trust bylaw. This would be to amend the Abington Affordable Housing Trust Fund bylaw, section 18-3, relative to the term for members of the Abington Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees. Would be by adding text in bold below. Scott, do you want to give a quick summary?
Yep, this was something that we passed at last year's town meeting. The terms that we had designated were 3-year terms, I believe, and it came back from the Attorney General's office saying that, you know, for whatever reason, the statute that, you know, enables us to do this suggests that they should only be 2-year terms. They can be, you know, they're renewable like anything else that we do. They can come back, so it's really just a housekeeping. Nothing else changes.
Anything, comments, questions, concerns? Okay, moving on. Article 17, funding of union contracts. Again, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds a sum of money to pay for first year collective bargaining agreement with the Abington firefighters, local 2080. 2 would be the first year of the collective bargaining agreement with the Abington Police Mass Cop, local 476. And number 3 would be the first year of the collective bargaining agreement with the Abington Library Staff Association, local 4928. Article 18 would be borrowing for South Shore Regional Vocational School renovations. This would be to see if the town would vote and authorize South Shore Regional Vocational School District to incur debt in the amount of $10,516,372 under the authority of the Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16D, or any other enabling authority for the purpose of remodeling and making extraordinary repairs to its school building which will extend the useful life of the school and support the required educational programs, or to take any other action relative thereto. Article 19 is property tax exemption for Gold Star parents. This would be to see if the town would vote to accept provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22nd H, basically known as the Act relative to Veterans Benefits Rights, Appreciation, Validation, and Enforcement of the BRAVE Act, to provide 100% real estate tax exemption for Gold Star parents effective for the tax years beginning on or after January 1st, 2021. Any questions so far? Concerns, comments, any of those articles? Okay, so Articles 20 through 32 are all zoning amendment articles. Scott, do you want to give a brief summary on these, or?
I do not. I will defer to the planning board. A lot of these were carried over, as you recall, from last year's town meeting. They wanted to have another opportunity for public comment on them, so they did hold quite a few of them again. Some of them were housekeeping. Some of them are requirements, like the first one that is the new requirements of FEMA to adopt the new floodplain and wetlands protection district. The zoning amendment to add the street address onto commercial signs, that was a carryover, and again, this was, you know, for people to be identifiable, readily identifiable to the, you know, public safety groups. Really, that's most of them. I think there was one that I will call out because we've been getting such a bit of interest in it, which was, it was Article 32, but it's been changed. And I think it would be Article 27, no?
50-foot building separation requirement?
I think it was a frontage change for the.
28 you're looking for.
So to see if the town will vote to amend the Abington zoning bylaw 17539, multiple use plan development district, section D, tract area and frontage by reducing the minimum tract size from the present requirement of 10 acres to 3 acres, and to read as follows. So there has been quite a bit of interest in this, and I was asked what the intent of this was. I think this was one of the ones that was carried over and presented maybe 2 years ago. And again, I think what the intent of it was to maybe garner more interest in developing these pieces of property. It's all, privately owned property in this multiple-use plan development district. This would, I think, in fact, make it probably easier to develop them.
Okay.
Kevin, can we just go back to 19 for a minute before we go forward?
Yep.
When the veterans agent was here, was it just co-star parents or spouse too?
Well, this hasn't changed since he was here, so it is his article, yeah, no, this definitely hasn't changed, but the other part of this is a large percentage of that is refunded by the state. So the net cost to the town is very minimal.
I understand that, but I just think, and maybe he can get it on a future one, that it goes spouse.
Maybe Adam could give us,
If in fact there is a,
I think the spouses automatically fall under the exemptions of the law.
but I think he's already, I think we've already adopted that.
Oh, we have, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So this is just increasing it to the parents now, okay.
Yeah.
Could I speak briefly on Article 28?
Yes.
Please do.
Rick Collins, 74 Orange Street. This time I am speaking as a member of the planning board. Just brief background on this. This is called the Muppet District. It's multi-use planning. The idea when it was approved probably over 15 years ago was if we wanted to have larger scale developments, to put it up there on Chestnut Street where we didn't have as much pre-existing development. So for instance, a large senior living center, a large office space, medical space, something. We're seeing the commercial condos go up there now. The idea was something on the larger scale that couldn't fit on Bedford Street would be directed towards that way. There was a minimum lot size requirement of 10 acres. The result is we don't have much going up there. And if the thought was if you drop it down to 3 acres, you might get more. Originally, when this was worded, perhaps last year, it also decreased the amount of frontage you needed from currently, which is 200 feet, to I think about 90 feet. Coincidentally, that happened to coincide with the frontage needs of a development being proposed off Hancock Street. When the planning board had approved it, but the zoning board said no due to that it didn't have enough frontage. Again, it needed 200 feet, it only had 90 feet. The original wording would have changed it and wouldn't have changed it, but it would have allowed the planning board to issue a special permit instead of the zoning board. And frankly, the planning board has historically been a little bit more friendly of a venue for those sort of requests. So when this was brought up again this spring, that language was in there again, changing the venue, the granting authority from the zoning board to the planning board. And the planning board agreed that that was not an appropriate change. And so that language was stricken out about the need for the frontage. So the only thing that this article changes is the required lot size from 10 acres to 3 acres. This does not impact the proposed development that's already been out there on Hancock Street. It has nothing to do with that.
And that development was denied by zoning?
That development was denied by zoning, yes. So, this article doesn't approve that project. It doesn't make it more viable. It has no impact on it. And I just want to make that very clear. Okay. Any other questions I can answer about it?
Questions from the board?
Thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Scott, do you have anything further?
On that one?
Any of them?
Do you have, I think the only other one in there, maybe a comment on is the, I was going to say 31 is just to align our regulations up with the Cannabis Control Commission regulations. And, oh, that is 32.
Yeah.
And 31 and 32 are both just aligning our current regulations so they match the Cannabis Control Commission.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns so far? So, which brings us to the citizens petition articles, Articles 33 through 37. Scott, did you want to talk on these?
Yeah, so 33 through 36, we sent those off. They were articles on renaming town building, renaming the middle high school, the first two. Town council opined that the town meeting is not the proper venue for such a request, that the authority lies within the actual board or committee that has control of those properties. So in the case of any town buildings or town property, it would be the Board of Selectmen. In the case of any school building, it would be the school committee. Article 35, again, was not worded properly. In order to remove something from civil service, this is referred to in our charter. So in order to change this, it would actually require an amendment to the charter. Article 36, the town meeting has no authority whatsoever in a community, in a regional dispatch agreement. Again, it's only by statute, the Board of Selectmen, they'd have any authority to do this. And Article 37 can stay. That one is to adopt military leave status. We discussed this with the Finance Committee. My thought on this with the Finance Committee was that we would recommend against it, and I think it would be better that it would be something that could be done as a, is in bargaining. But again, it's up to, that one can stay on, and that one is definitely okay for town meeting.
So the other ones that aren't okay, they're gonna stay on this warrant?
33 to 36, the main petitioner did request, but it was after we had already printed the warrant and sent it off. He did request that we remove them. Unfortunately, we can't now, so we just won't be able to take any action on them.
Okay.
So our motion today to approve this warrant will not include those?
Yeah, I mean, we would Articles,
To
what,
approve the
1
warrant
through
with the exception
32.
of 33 through 36.
Yeah, 33 through 36, take no action on them, not approve. Any other questions, comments, concerns from the board? Okay. Entertain a motion if someone has.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the annual town meeting with the exception of Articles 32 through 36.
33 through 36.
33 through 36, thank you.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Kevin, I think I'm going to abstain for 12, 13, and 17.
Okay.
I think that would be
Let's
best.
do separate motion.
Maybe one.
And 1, too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we do separate motions for those?
So the motion, accept those articles and
So what numbers again? 1?
1, 12, 13, and 17.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to approve Articles 1, 12, and 13 in the warrant.
and 17.
And 17.
Oh, and 17, sorry.
okay, so the first vote would be Tim's on the motion, with Mike abstaining. Do you want to do it all as one, or do you want to do two separate votes on that?
No, I think as long as
Okay.
Mike abstains, you're fine.
Mike will abstain, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. Okay, so then Alex Hagerty's motion for Articles 1, 12, 13, and 17. Do we have a second on that?
It should already be approved with the last motion.
Yeah, okay.
They were approved with the
Okay.
last one because Mike abstained.
Okay, perfect.
So your
Right.
motion carried with, yeah. We don't need another motion.
Yeah.
We do not need to have an executive session. I do not have any updates for you.
So town manager's report.
Okay, well, I think the only thing in the town manager's report, other than everything that we've already gone over, I think I will let Sue give you a quick explanation of our Article 1 and where we are with the operating budget.
Thank you. So currently, our operating budget is balanced to our revenues. And you'll see that our total Finance Committee recommendation is $59,685,378. That's just for the general fund. And on the third page, it's individually listed by the enterprise funds and the Conservation Special Revenue Fund.
So as you will see, we did not, as we were afraid early on that we would have to use reserve or stabilization rather, we did not. We were able to do this without touching our stabilization. So stabilization remains intact at 3.2? 3.2 million, which is about, where we would like it to be. I think in the future, we'd like to see, we'll continue to add to it a bit more. We managed to keep all services intact. We're adding some services proposed to the fire department and to police, I think.
Yes.
And some other minor things. The one thing that we did not assume and we did not take into consideration in balancing this was the American Recovery Plan Act money that is due to the town. And much of that money is able to be used for revenue replacement. Right now, we're estimating our lost revenue because of COVID to be somewhere around $650,000 plus or minus. My intention would be that when we do receive the money from ARPA, which should be any time now, we will use that to continue on with our capital purchases. We still need to address vehicle needs over at the police department, so there's probably need 3 vehicles over there. And the DPW desperately needs a street sweeper. As we've approved and approving the requirements for the MS4 stormwater pollution permit, the requirement to sweep every road in town twice a year will be very difficult, if not impossible, with the one machine that he has left. So we do have to replace that, and probably a bucket truck that is failing on him also. And then, that should also leave us some other monies in that we can use for other COVID-related expenses. And I think that is all the news we got to offer.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything from the board?
No. So we are meeting next Monday night?
So, part of that, yeah, we have, we probably should meet next Monday night. We do have a lot of agenda items to go over. Is the board in favor of meeting next Monday night? Just to get some stuff done, and then we'd obviously meet again for
Town meeting, following up. Yeah, I think I did send you guys a potential draft. There's at least 10 or 11 items on that.
They'll be meeting next Monday, the 17th.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Good? Okay.
Yep.
So we'll plan on that for our next meeting.
That's right.
And we're not going into executive session.
Nope, hopefully next meeting I'll have all your answers.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Me.